In the last video, I explained a concept most of my fanbase is already familiar with. But how about something most of you are not familiar with? Enter transhumanism. Do you know what humanism is? It is basically a philosophy that puts humans over God. A philosophy with a subtext that there is nothing greater than man. Transhumanists reject that idea. Transhumanists do not view humans as the pinnacle of evolution. They believe the evolution of humans can and should continue. It should be noted that this evolution is not even necessarily biological. Consider Oscar Pistorius. He has prosthetic legs. One could almost call him a cyborg. The possibilities of such artificial implants have been very deeply explored in science fiction. Transhumanists are the ones who think that such enhancements should be available for the general population, not just a select few. Note that such enhancements do not just have to be of cybernetic, but also of genetic nature. Think of the designer babies in Gattaca, where prenatal modification of a human genome is common. Science fiction, especially the cyberpunk genre, has traditionally depicted transhumanism in a very negative light. History has yet to confirm them though. There have been many novels predicting how modern technology makes us go Orwell. The opposite turned out to be true. The internet has made the world more democratic by allowing regular people to broadcast their thoughts around the world, like I'm doing right now, but I digress. Now, what is the potential for human enhancement? We could have prosthetic organs that never fail, artificial blood needing no heartbeat, bionic eyes and ears for super senses, nanobots in our immune system, and indefinite lifespans. Especially the last one is a hot topic. Imagine there was a virus infecting the whole human race. This virus kills 100,000 people every day. In 30 years it will have killed about 1 billion people. How high on a list of priorities would you set fighting this virus? Well, that virus describes aging well. Getting rid of aging would also help to defeat cancer, heart disease and Alzheimer's. But we don't do much since it is seen as inevitable anyway. But is it really inevitable? Is it an inevitable consequence of the laws of physics? Aubrey de Grey has identified 7 main causes of aging. All basically boil down to damage accumulation. Gene therapies and nanobots could fix this damage regularly, allowing us to live until an accident kills us or we choose to die. Since medicine is about keeping us alive and healthy, this should be the logical conclusion of medicine. Dr. de Grey thinks we are heading towards a longevity escape velocity. For explanation, lifespans have risen exponentially over time, and Aubrey de Grey believes that they will one day increase by 1 year annually, making our lifespans de facto indefinite. But hang on, I know what you are going to say. What about overpopulation? Dr. de Grey suggests that people will have to file a form to have children and then wait for other people to die through natural causes or requested suicide to be given the go-ahead. That is, until we colonize the rest of the solar system, of course. Plus, there is an inverse correlation between wealth and fertility rates. In the future, especially once sex becomes virtual, birth rates will probably continue to drop close to zero. Moreover, many people choose to get children precisely because they know they are gonna grow old and die. And if people do not age anymore, people can choose to have children at a much higher age than they are naturally forced to do. So, immortality might decrease birth rates as well. A study has found that life extension will not be an as big burden on population growth. Some say death organizes life, but I disagree. It limits you. It limits you to a sequence of education, work, retirement, and death. In a post-scarcity society, this system will no longer be necessary, but more on that later. I think it would also be a great way to reduce much of the nihilist thinking that nothing we do matters as it all comes to an end. Or the attitude that we don't have to worry about long-term problems like climate change because they don't affect us anymore after our death. The next question is, will life extension medicine be only available to the rich or also to the general public? Well, ask yourself how earlier technologies appeared. Say vaccines or mobiles. Earlier, they were very expensive. Now, everyone has them. Maybe it will one day become a human right to live as long as you want. Of course, we should have improved security as well in the future. Imagine how much more depressing it would be when you get run over by a bus in the prime of your life, when you have 1,000 more years ahead of you. Of course, if you upload your brain in a computer, you won't have such problems. Or if you have cortical stacks as backups, so that you can be revived from a copy in case you die.
Apart from super longevity, what other possibilities do we have? How about superintelligence? For thousands of years, humans have been the smartest species on the planet Earth. However, is it possible for an entity smarter than us to exist? Yes. Our neurons are slow. Most fire at a rate of only about 10 to 20 per second. Plus, there's only so much brain mass that can fit in a primate's skull.
Would it be conceivable for computers to ever get smarter than us in an event known as the technological singularity? There are three main schools of thought promoting this idea. The first is the Event Horizon school promoted by Werner Winch, who by the way coined the term technological singularity. He believes that the only way you could predict what a superhuman intelligence could do is by being a superhuman intelligence yourself, i.e. it's impossible. The second is the Accelerating Change school of thought promoted by Ray Kurzweil. According to Kurzweil, technological change in the past has been exponential, feeding itself. He would argue that there has been more technological progress in the last century than in the century before. This especially applies to computers, who went from room-sized to fitting in our pockets. According to Moore's law, the number of transistors that can be placed in an integrated circuit grows exponentially. Kurzweil argues that there will be a point when the growth curve becomes vertical. He thinks it will be the moment when we start integrating computers into our bodies, including our brains. Such brain-computer interfaces already exist today. In the future, they could be used for telepathy, or for operating machines with your mind. The extreme of that would be uploading your brain into a computer, which would also overlap with super longevity. The third is the Intelligence Explosion school promoted by Eliezer Yudkowsky. According to Yudkowsky, intelligence is the most powerful force in the universe. It is the reason why we can go to the moon and cure diseases. Now, consider that machines grow smarter and smarter over time. This comic by Kurzweil demonstrates that the number of things only humans do grows shorter and shorter. Computers can now play chess, recognize faces, compose music, and even do science. So, what should happen once an AI can make itself smarter? At that level of intelligence, it would be even better at improving its own intelligence. This could result in a positive feedback loop, ending in an AI of unimaginable intelligence. What do the critics say? Some question Kurzweil's extrapolations. They point out that Moore's law is not a law of nature and we have no reason to assume it will continue in the future. Transistors cannot shrink indefinitely. One day, they will reach subatomic sizes and they will have to work against Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. That means if we know the location of a transistor, we won't know if it is on or off. Also, AIs have a history of overpromising and underdelivering. For example, Alan Turing has predicted that an AI would pass the Turing test in the year 2000. Such an AI would be able to produce a conversation indistinguishable from that a human could produce. In other words, an AI as intelligent as a human. Obviously, we have no such AI. However, does that mean we will never have a singularity? Many rational people in the 1930s would have never thought that we would have landed on the moon 30 years later. Or to quote Ray Kurzweil, consider Garry Kasparov, who scorned the pathetic state of computer chess in 1992. Yet the relentless doubling of computer power every year enabled a computer to defeat him only 5 years later. But besides forecasts, what about AI ethics? Any super-intelligent AI which does not act in our interests could be very dangerous. Imagine, for instance, a super-intelligent computer programmed solely to solve a mathematical problem. Sounds harmless, doesn't it? Well, it could convert the entire planet, including us, into more computronium substrate to make more calculations. The AI doesn't hate us. We are just made of atoms it could use for something else. So we simply program it to be friendly, which should be easy, right? Well, no. You surely know all these stories where someone finds a genie who grants him or her 3 wishes. He or she usually phrases her wishes poorly and regrets the wish in the end. We would not be able to stop a super-intelligent AI once it is programmed. Moreover, societal values change over time. Imagine an AI with medieval values and godlike power. Banning AI research would be no good idea, however. Someone will eventually make one, so it is good to have a friendly superintelligence as fast as possible. Maybe the free laws help. Pause to read. How about the third super? I'm talking about the super happiness branch of transhumanism spearheaded by David Pearce. He argues that evolution designed us to survive, not to be happy. Is pain, for example, strictly speaking necessary? Why not simply an inner red flag, as Richard Dawkins called it, telling us that something is wrong without harming us? Today's AIs already have such systems. Plus, our biology has barely changed in the last few thousand years, while our society has. We are savanna apes living in cities. We still have emotions like anger, jealousness, and anxiousness, which are rather detrimental in the environment today. David Pearce favors abolitionism. He wants to abolish suffering. Fittingly, he is a vegan and supports artificial meat. But won't that lead to a Brave New World style scenario? Hedonism just doesn't give our lives meaning. Indeed, we would need work. Like taking the hard mode in a video game because just beating the game doesn't satisfy you. You want to be challenged. We could dwell in virtual realities which we can design where there is always something new to discover. We could deliberately limit ourselves and give us obstacles. It would be engineering our own heaven for us. And then there's the universe. There's so much to discover. It is so vast, yet if we live for millions of years, we won't die without having found all out. A truly wonderful thought. Finally, let's imagine a post-scarcity society. This is an economy where everything is present in abundance with minimal human labor. Thanks to nanomachines, everything we need can be assembled atom by atom. You could make a diamond out of carbon and organic dirt. You don't need to pay money to get something, you simply ask for it, like in Star Trek. Work, here defined as something you would not do if you didn't get paid, would become obsolete. That's because the new factories and public services would be automated, and we cannot merely leave work requiring low qualifications to the machines. Even radiologists nowadays lose their jobs to AIs. The only thing politicians think of is how to keep full employment despite this. We will have to overhaul the traditional capitalist system. I think a rapid change will be inevitable for the near future. The only question is, will it be positive or negative?